What's up, bikers? Welcome to episode 164 of the B1KER Bar Podcast live stream. I'm still saying it. I don't even care. It's the live stream, and that's what's happening. But nonetheless, episode 164. Today, we're going to have normal mountain biker, or Mtber, or Sebastian, or Sebastian, whatever you want to call him. The guy from Normal. We'll just call him Normal. That's probably what most people do. Anyways, it's funny whenever somebody starts a channel that they become the channel name and they no longer become who they are. Like there's a group of people behind Normal, but probably just refer to him as Normal. Anyways, this is episode 164, 100% crowdsourced, homegrown, grassroots situation that we have going here on the podcast. And everybody out there on Patreon that is contributing, thank you very much. I actually got somebody new just the other day. So wrote a letter, dropped the sticker pack in the mail. Should be showing up at their door any day now. If you would like to help support this channel, swing by Patreon. Honestly, it's like $5, man. If you would bump into me and be like, dude, let me buy you a beer. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You could do that just on Patreon and it'd be rad. It honestly would make a huge difference if I could get a little more support from the community, because I don't really want to go down this like super deep rabbit hole of sponsorship. I like being sponsored by you guys. I can do whatever I want. So do me that favor, swing by Patreon, help the channel out. If not, just hit like, subscribe, and all the things. Whichever thing you're doing this on, do those things. You know how to do them. And if you're a podcast listener, swing by Apple Podcasts, write a review. Only a 5-star review, though. If you're thinking 4 or 3, reconsider, or just don't do it. I mean, procrastinate as long as you can. Anyways, we're going to bring Sebastian on and get started. So here we are. What's up, man?
Hey. Good to be back, man. It's been a long time. It's been like what, 2 years since I've been on the show?
Yeah. I think it was episode 94 or 96, something like that you were on. So that's just
crazy. You know what's funny? It was episode number 1 for me ever on a podcast being on your show.
Yeah, that's awesome,
first
dude.
Ever. First ever.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Nobody can ever take it from me.
Yeah.
I discovered him.
Basically, yeah.
Right on, man. Dude, a lot has changed. I was thinking about it before the show, and it's just like that episode. I mean, you had a pretty good following. I think you had like, I don't know, like 80,000 on like Instagram or something like that. And now it's like, I mean, dude, you have like 500,000 on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we're getting really close to the 500,000 mark on YouTube right now. It's been quick. That one came up on us quick. That's one of the things I didn't even like think that would ever happen on YouTube. Was, we just started posting videos on there, and actually, as per your request as well, your suggestion. I remember way back, you were like, dude, you got to start posting your shorts on YouTube. I'm like, okay, yeah. I kind of put it off for a little while, and then I tried it. I was like, oh crap, this is working. All right.
I had the exact same conversation with Just the Maker last week. And nice. She's like, oh, I know. I'm like, no, seriously.
Yeah.
It's crazy because, I mean, not to like totally switch gears, but the other day, I think when I was talking to her, it might have been off the show. I remember when we had that first conversation that you were saying, man, TikTok's the place to go. Like your TikTok was like, you'd always get more views there. And it seems like now, is that still the same?
No, it's by a long shot YouTube.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works, because it's like TikTok was really, really good back in the early days of that app, of that platform, that app. When no one really knew like what it was. There was like the platform didn't have many creators to push content for. Right. And then about like maybe 6 to 8 months ago, people just started catching on that, oh, TikTok's the next new app. That's the next new platform. And everyone, it seems like everyone at the same exact time all got on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I was part of that. I would say I was part of like the first/second wave of like mountain bikers going into the TikTok world. And I got pretty lucky because I was able to get there at the beginning where, there wasn't many people, like I was saying, and it was easy to grow very quick on that platform. But nowadays it's a little more hard, a little more challenging. I'm not seeing much growth from a lot of people on that platform. And there's and it seems to be that like YouTube is just consistently just booming, just consistently. And it seems like Instagram's also making a bit of a comeback nowadays too. Like I'm getting tons of views on Instagram, and that's been awesome. It's been really cool to be on that platform because it is one of my favorite platforms. But I got to give it to YouTube, man. Like YouTube is the way to go. It really is. Yeah.
I think as far as the creator aspect goes and like getting monetized and things of that nature, I think YouTube is definitely a spot. I think the one thing that YouTube is missing compared to Instagram, and I don't know if it's just like the whole DM. I just feel like I'm closer to people on Instagram than I am on YouTube for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't. Is it just maybe the culture on YouTube? Like not everybody comments as much. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's if you take like just from like the user perspective on YouTube, the only way you can get a hold of the creator that you're watching is via the comments on videos. And then if you have like a creator that's very large and they're constantly getting comments, like each video has like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 comments, like it's really hard for the creator to go through. Like that's like a whole day's process going through. Right. And and a lot of people, especially if you're one of those larger creators, like they don't have time. And like that's another thing too, that like I don't think a lot of people really know this, like not to burst anyone's bubbles, but a lot of those big creators like the Mr. Beasts of the world and whatnot, they're not sitting there like responding to comments. Like they have a whole team of people who are pretending to be them that go back and comment on there.
Yeah. 100%. And I even remember an old interview with Seth. I don't remember if it was me or somebody else that he was talking to, but I think it was somebody else. And he had mentioned something like, man, it was really fun when your channel's small and you can really interact with everybody, but it gets to a point where, I mean, it's just impossible. Like you wouldn't be able to make content. You'd just be responding to comments all day.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. Yeah, that's one of the battles that I have. And like going back to what you were originally saying, how you feel a little more connected with people on Instagram, right? It's like that's one of the things I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to do the whole hire people to read my comments and stuff. I'd rather respond to them myself. So I don't do that. I don't do the whole like hiring people, have them read through them, answer questions. If I ever answer anything, it's like that's coming from directly me, like not even anyone on the team, right? It's literally just me. So, and same thing with DMs and stuff. It's hard to get to it. I try to. It's one of those things for me. It's like, okay, did I finish everything I needed to get done today? All right, maybe I'll go on to DMs, and check the DMs and see how that's doing, right? But comments is tricky, man, because like they kind of tend to like there's that saying for restaurants, it's like the customer is always correct, right? I don't know if that necessarily holds much weight in like the social media world, because there's a lot of people who are like very nice that like absolutely are like huge fans and everything, but then there's also like 1 or 2% of people who like are just haters for no reason, like they just don't like you. Just it doesn't matter what you do, like they just won't like you. So for the like I'm not saying I don't read comments because of that, but it's one of those things where I'd rather not let comments change how I kind of handle things, how I approach the videos and the content we make. Because at the end of the day, I just want to make people laugh and make people happy. It's like that's really what it comes down to. So if there's going to be a hater that'll skew that in a certain perspective or a certain way, like I don't want to jeopardize that for like the 95% of people who like genuinely enjoy the content that we're making. Yeah,
100%. It's interesting. I always tell people that if you went out and chose 100 people and you gave them all $100, there would be a couple people that bitch about it. For some reason, they would be like, "Oh, it was only 100," or like, "Oh, he gave me 520s. This is bullshit." Like, or how am I going to break? Somebody will complain. It doesn't even like you're giving them free money, and somebody will still complain. So they're out there, man.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, I mean, do you see a spot where you just kind of like give up on the comments? Like, I mean, at this point. I mean, 500,000 subscribers. I mean, some of your content is like in the millions of views. Like if 1% comments, that's still a shit ton of comments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, on YouTube, it's really hard. Like if I make like a video where it's like I'll ask people, hey, go in the comments, give me suggestions on this or whatever it might be. I'll go through for those kinds of comments, for those kinds of videos, right? Because I genuinely want to know. I mean, I value the people who watch our videos. Like we wouldn't be here without the people who are there watching, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. It's like, I know it's super cheesy for creators to say that kind of stuff, but I mean, it is really true, and
100%.
so I want to hear what people have to say, especially if I'm asking them a direct question, right? So for those kinds of things, yeah, I'll go through, but most videos, like most of the time, I can't even. I'll start and I'll be like, okay, I got other things to do. Like it's just so it's hard to keep track of it,
Yeah. I can. I mean, I don't have nearly the amount of followers that you do, but I can understand where that gets to a point where it's like, this is all I would be doing. I'm still like, fortunately or unfortunately small enough. I don't. I still have plenty of time to respond to comments, but I can see how it would compound, and get to be like too much. So when we started, it was just you and your brother. When you started last time we talked, it was just you and your brother.
Yeah.
You have more people on the team now, huh? Who's all normal now?
Yeah, so we got so the most recent addition, I guess, in between the last time I was on here and now, one of my closest friends, Matthew, he jumped on. He hates it when I mention him. He doesn't like being like mentioned in the public eye. He wants to stay anonymous, but
we'll just call him Anonymous Matthew.
Anonymous Matthew. There we go. We have how about this? We have a bunch of names for him. He's the accountant. His name is Blood Choppa. And a bunch of other ones that are not internet friendly.
There you go.
We'll skip over.
We'll leave it at the accountant.
Yeah. But no, he's one of my longtime friends. I've known him for many, many years, and yeah, he recently, like, not even recent. It's been like a year now, or a little over a year. He's been on the team, just helping with just generally everything. But he's managing mostly the behind the scenes, some of the more technical business stuff, anything that comes down to anything like finance related, whatever, it's like that's him. So he's a lot behind the scenes working on stuff. He's popped up sometimes in videos. Like the few times I've been able to convince him to be in a video, like he'll be in there sometimes. So you might see
him out with camera gear though with you.
Yeah. So both him and my brother, they've been helping a lot with the videos, and up until when Matthew showed up, like it was just my brother and I that were going out filming, and we were kind of running everything, and now we got 2 videographers, myself, and yeah, it's it's slowly becoming more and more of an operation for sure. So yeah, but that's us. It's just the 3 of us.
Yeah. It makes it a lot easier though to capture angles in one shot and things like that. So was he already familiar with camera gear, or is that something you're kind of like bringing him up to speed on?
Yeah, no, he actually didn't know anything about cameras before hopping on. It's been very much like, okay, so here's the camera. This is the button that says to record, right? So click that button, and then like follow me like this. And he's like, okay. So they do it. I mean, they do an amazing job. We actually yesterday we just finished a project actually that you guys will see pretty soon. I can't say much about it. It'll come out probably in December, but we just wrapped up a project. It was like a super heartwarming project. Like this is probably one of the coolest things I think we've ever done. Just because it's like we were like giving back to somebody, right? And like
that's right.
It's something that like it's totally out of the norm kind of content for us, but everything, the stars aligned, and we were able to do something that we've been wanting to do for a while, and we actually we're able to make it happen thanks to some of the companies that we work with. So but I like I said, I can't talk about that right now. That's something that you guys will see, down the road. I just want to
little sneak preview.
It's pretty freaking cool. I must say. I'm like mind blown that it even happened. Like we wrapped up filming yesterday. I'm like in the car driving home. I'm like, did we really just do that? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
But
that's rad, man. There's definitely been some of those like thoughts that I'd have over the years that I always think, man, it'd be great to like get to a point where you could do things where you're, I don't know, like almost like Mr. Beast style, where it's like, hey, here's this brand new bike, or whatever this is, and being able to give back to people. I think that's really rad, dude. So that's awesome. I'm excited for you and excited to see that come together. So speaking of sponsors, I think last time we talked, it was like you two just trying to figure out how to like do it. And I don't think sponsors or income wasn't really much kicking around at that point. Things have changed now. How did you come about like the Specialized deal, for example?
Yeah, were we the first time I was on? We weren't on Specialized yet, were we? I don't think
you weren't. You didn't. I don't think you had anybody at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, not even like Cushcore or you know what I mean, like nothing. It was like you were riding your aluminum bike with aluminum wheels and figuring it out. You know.
Yeah. So I guess since the last time we were there, we've built a pretty like solid relationship with Specialized. Like they're like I honestly couldn't thank those guys enough. They we had one of their at one time was just an athlete. I will spare his name just so that people don't inundate him with messages and stuff. But if you're watching, you know who you are.
Yeah.
But he found us. He kind of discovered us on Instagram. Back when we were super small, and back then, it was kind of like the first little while was, hey, like. And this was in the middle of like, when the bike market was crazy, and like you couldn't find even used bikes for less than like well over at like, MSRP price, and they reached out and like, they were like, hey, we really like what you're doing. Like, would you guys want to like get on some Specialized bikes? And we're like, yes, like that'd be sick. Especially since like I grew up riding Specialized bikes. I mean, that was like my first ever mountain bike was a rock hopper. And then my first ever like full suspension proper mountain bike was a stump jumper. So that was like, there's no way, like this is like amazing, right? And so they hooked us up with some statuses. Those I got a 160 status, like still have the bike to this day. And from there it was kind of little low key, like we're kind of representing Specialized. We'll just see what happens. And a few years ago we kind of started taking a lot more seriously, and so did they. And yeah, we've been on the program since then. So it's been like we're coming up on year 2. We're at least 2 years in, to the whole relationship. This next year, like assuming everything kind of goes well and everything goes as planned, it's going to be year number 3, I think, on riding their bikes. So
it really just came from a subscriber or a follower, and it just kind of came out of that relationship there.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, the initial person who reached out to us, he's also quite involved in the industry. He is. I would say he's definitely a household name, which is why I want to like.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. Who it is. I'm just out of respect to him, and I don't want people just inundating him with messages and stuff. But but also it's like he actually found our video. I guess he popped up on his feed or something. He was telling me, and then he just sent me a DM, and that's kind of where it started, like directly, because it wasn't from like I feel like a lot of people have this image of this like the big million subscriber Specialized page sends you a DM and they're like, hey, we want you to ride our bikes. It wasn't like that at all. It was like this his account, and he was and even just getting a message from him, I was just like mind blown. I'm like, there's no way, because I've known about him for many years. Like when I was a kid, I looked up to him. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then he was the one that brought us into the industry and into the company like that. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. It was a very unique, like, that's not usually how it happens. Like,
yeah.
But
I mean, you guys are putting the work in. I said this to you before, I think when we were riding, and it's just, I was always like really surprised by how much content you guys were putting out. I mean, I don't know, you're not still doing like one a day, are you?
We it's interesting, we have like some form of content coming out at least once a day. Sometimes we do like like when I say that, I mean like sometimes I have like 5, I don't know how many pages of social media stuff I have. I don't even know, I can't even keep track of it, but we have like we have like the second YouTube channel, right? On the days, what I like to do is on the days where I'm not posting a short on like Instagram or YouTube Shorts or TikTok or whatever, I like to do like a vlog video, like a long form 15-minute long vlog video of some kind on my second channel, so that it's like at least, during the week, right, Monday through Friday, at least we have at least one form of content coming out per day, just to keep that, that cycle going. And it's kind of challenging for sure. Like this week, we were just out in Utah for the last like 2 weeks or so. We got back this past weekend. And it's just been like we have so much content, but right now it's like game day. We're like editing, doing this, doing that, and trying to get up to it. So it hasn't like this week's not one post per day, but
Yeah.
we'll
I
get
mean,
back
these things
to it.
happen, but I mean, you're still cranking out a lot of content, and that's I was always surprised by like the amount of content, and I mean, still am. It's definitely work. I mean, it's not like it's definitely not the amount of work that like 95% of the world thinks it is, like you get up at like noon and then you like stroll around your house for a while, and then like 2:30 you go ride your bike, and then at like 5:00 you make a video for 15 minutes, and then you like go back to doing whatever the fuck you want to do again, right? That's not how it works.
Yeah. Well, hold on, wait, don't get me wrong, there are definitely days like that I have, right? There definitely are. But no, it's I joke for the most part. I mean, there are some days, but it's like the only days I can do stuff like that where I just wake up whenever is like, okay, the night before I was up till 3 a.m. editing a video, like,
Yeah.
And then like, it was probably like the day after we have like some meeting or something, or like I just want to prep for it, like we have to, like I have to take days like to just chill, right? Like, like that's kind of where we're at nowadays with it. Is like there's so much, especially during the summer, like there's so many projects, like week after week we're over here, we're over there next week, like next month we're going to spend 3 weeks over here, it's like we have like so many projects that nowadays I find myself like if there happens to be like a day or two where we're like, okay, not much going on, like I'll basically just drop everything. I'll be like, okay, now let's take a break because I don't know what's going to happen next week. Might be like 3 a.m. nights every single night, so yeah.
How do you do the editing? Are you editing all of everything, or do you guys kind of trade off on projects? How's that work?
Yeah, it's we're actually figuring the system out. At the beginning it was mostly just me doing everything. Because of so much content nowadays, I just can't, like there's too much work for me to just do on my own. Otherwise I would never get anything out. So generally the way that it goes is like any of the short form content that you'll see, like the shorts, the skits, whatever, that's 99.9% of the time that's going to be me editing that stuff. When it comes to on the main YouTube channel, like the grander, like let's try to go viral type videos, those ones are mostly going to be me doing it. And we're actually looking at potentially even bringing on a professional editor or something just so that we have more time to go out and film and do cooler stuff. But when it comes to like some of the other, like the vlog videos, like anything on the Informal Normal page, that kind of stuff, like I leave that to my brother and Matthew, like, and they do it, and like for not knowing like how to be like editors, for example, like they do a really good job. Yeah. So I'm very lucky to have them.
Yeah, and that's another addition since the last time we talked to me. You were, I mean, first of all, you weren't even posted on YouTube, and then you go from that to now separating to a separate channel for this kind of like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
What was the switch that made you kind of lean more into the content the way that you're doing it? Because I think initially you guys were trying to make a little bit more like artsy kind of like long form content,
Yeah. That's an interesting question, because it's like, the way that I kind of like, to answer that question, I kind of have to give like an overview of how
go for it, man. We got time.
Like in general, like I've taken, for the longest time ever, I've looked at content of like, okay, what's like, yes, of course there's like what's gonna get the most clicks, how am I going to get the engagement up on stuff, like will this video go viral, will this one get more I look at it from a very analytical perspective a lot of the times, and a lot of the content that we have is so based around like, let's just try to get this to the max amount of people possible, let's try to utilize the platform as best as possible, while simultaneously making content that people want to watch, right? Like that's the main thing, is like bundling all that together. With the informal normal stuff, it was mostly just like I had so much footage. Like every time we go somewhere and we do a project or something, like there was so much extra footage that was just like that we just never use it. Like I'll bring my GoPro or my DJI or something with me. Like every time I go on a trip somewhere, or even for a ride, like I'll just bring it just because, just why not, right? And I just kept on finding myself having so much just random content sitting around that I was like, dude, I could put this just real quick, like smash it all into a video and call it a behind the scenes video. And yeah, I just did that. And so we started doing that with like all of the second channel and on YouTube, and then also for Instagram. Like I made a second channel there as well, or second page there. And that's just like jokes and stuff, or like memes or whatever that like never made it to the main channel. I'll just put it on the second channel, because there's like what we're starting to see is there's this faction of people that, who are following us, who really enjoy the kind of content we make, that like I kept on having people ask me like, hey, you should do like behind the scenes stuff, or you should like do this, or you should do that. I'm like, oh, that'd be actually great. Like, what about like with all this content, it doesn't take much time, on top of what we have, to already do. And like, let's just put it out there, and maybe sometimes we'll get a viral video here and there. It's just those pages are just for the fans. Like that's just for the hardcore fans who like didn't get enough from the main YouTube channel or whatever, and they want more and more and more. And like that's where that comes in. So it's just a big vomit of like videos that like behind the scenes, like just like this is what happened. We hung out with these people. We rode that trail. Yeah, it's just as a little bonus. So
yeah. Why separate it instead of just tagging it some other way on your regular stuff?
Yeah, so that's another strategic thing, I would say. I didn't really want to mix up that content. Like for example, on the main YouTube channel, it's like this, like the quality of video that like I'll post on the main YouTube channel is going to be either the shorts, right, which is all edited, that's all scripted, type stuff. And then there's also like the crazy stuff that we'll do for the main long form videos on the main channel, right? For example, like when I raced like the Dirty Sanchez Enduro, right? Like that was such like an epic moment that happened, in the normal Mtber saga, right? That like I was like, man, this is too good to just vlog it, like I made a full on video out of it, subtitles, voiceovers, blah 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 blah, the whole 9 yards. So it's like I just want to reserve the really, really good content, like the stuff that's just like, let's try to get the most amount of views, let's stoke out the most amount of people, not like, not just like, oh, it's just me riding my bike, like, no, this has a definite purpose behind it, and put that on the main channel. Whereas the secondary channel is like just the behind the scenes, like what was the trip like getting out there, like what about the practice day? I didn't put any clips of the practice day. Maybe let's put that on the second channel, a little bonus, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
When you guys started, were your intentions to be like full-time social media people?
Not necessarily. It's interesting because like, way back when, we had the idea of like, it was really just like, let's see what happens, and I think like you
and Durs are like sitting around drinking beers or whatever, and one night you're like, dude, let's start something and just see if we can get some like free bike parts or something. Like, what were you thinking?
It's funny. That was like one of the things that was like, oh, there's maybe one day we might have a sponsor. Like maybe, like that was my mindset going into it. Our whole thing was like, let's create like a side brand project. Like that was really it. Cause it was like during the lockdown stuff, back in 2020 when we started all this, and like, and we were like, all right, well, we're probably going to go back to work. Life is going to somewhat maybe get normal again. When we go back to the regular world, let's like have like a side business or something. That was really our whole thought process. And I'm going to be totally honest. I didn't expect it ever to kick off like it did. I mean, this is, we're really just reacting, rather than, like actually having this part of the plan. Now things have changed. Now we actually have plans. Now we actually have like a definite direction where we want to go. and how we want to take things. But that was never the case until recently.
What's that?
Last year or so.
What's that direction?
Yeah, that's there's some stuff I don't want to say necessarily.
World domination.
Yeah. Well, hey, not far from it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna invade New Zealand.
Yeah,
make it
right.
like haven.
Whatever it takes to get legal trails in Santa Cruz, I don't care.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can break into Marin, I mean, you will be like the Messiah.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, we've been trying. I've been working with the let me back up here. I haven't been doing anything, relatively speaking, but I'm good buddies with the guys over at the soul searching project. The specialized trail digging project that they have, and so they're trying so hard, man. I gotta salute those guys over there, because they're doing the hard work that so many people don't want to do. And I don't mean just digging a trail. Digging a trail is easy compared to what these guys have to do. I mean, they have to go to meetings. They have to convince the super annoying government people who have been in power forever and ever and ever, and just have nothing better to do with their lives than to squash the mountain bikers, right? And it's like, so I gotta send those guys a good salute, man. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you guys didn't have a plan from what you were saying, and you're like kind of just shooting from the hip, seeing where things would go. And at this point, it's been a few years, and you've learned a lot. If you were to start over today, like with all the knowledge that you have, like what would you do differently?
Wow. Oh, that's a hard question. That's interesting. I don't know if there's what would I do differently? That's a really interesting one, because it's so easy to think in hypotheticals, right? Like, oh, if I would have known the knowledge of like, this is how I should start a video, this is how I should end a video, like all that stuff for sure would have been useful to know. Back then, it would have definitely been able to guide me, like, to get to some goals that we had quicker, right? But
you think you just would have been able to make better content right out the gate?
Yeah. Just laying it out a little better, but I don't know, man. I really don't know if there's much I would change about it. There's, it's like I genuinely believe that everything happens for a reason, and I think that kind of our up and up was a result of just the trial and error that we had, in the process. That, and like, because of that trial and error, and because of like the path that we took, it's like, we got to meet a lot of awesome people in the process who helped us out, and we got to, like, not just like people who helped us, but like meeting like the fans and everyone. It's like, I think everything just happened the way it should have, and I think we're like, if I were to be a betting man, I would say we're just getting started. So it's like, not to make it all when you're on TikTok and they have that like sad music or whatever, inspirational music, quotes or whatever kind of nonsense on there.
Yeah. Did you do you remember the first time somebody came up and asked to take a picture with you?
Oh, I do. Oh, it's somewhere locked in here. Where was that? Man, that's a good question. I think it was, actually, I remember it was at my local bike park. And I think it was, oh man, I hope they're not watching. It's somebody that I did meet them. I see them sometimes. I totally blanking on their name, but it was one of my local shredders around here. And he I think he came up to me and he was like, dude, like I watched the Instagram or something. And yeah, he just asked for a pic, but I think that was it. I think it was just a regular.
Did you think that was like, oh, this is a fluke? This because this guy's local, like.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, it's just he probably has seen me riding before. He told me that he did like the videos, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But the thing is, like, I had a bunch of friends that they all said they liked the videos too. So I thought it was just like, oh, it's just someone who must have a connection to me somehow, right?
Yeah, some kind of 6 degrees of separation kind of deal.
Exactly. I thought it was something like that. But
now you walk through Sea Otter and you're like you're a fucking celebrity, dude. Like you know what I mean? Like you could be on one side of the aisle and Aaron Gwen could be on the other side of the aisle, and you guys are both drawing the same crowd, man. If not, you might be getting more just because like you're really getting in front of a lot more people.
Oh, I appreciate it, man.
I mean, it's the truth though, dude. I can tell you right now, like, I met Sam Pilgrim, and when I met him, like, I was with Richard from Sticker,
Yeah.
and Richard's like, "Hey, this is Sam." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, you ride bikes? Oh, sweet. Me too. Later." Just went about my way or whatever. And Richard's like, "Hey, you know who that dude is?" And I was like, you said it's Sam, right?" He's like, "No, dude, that's like Sam Pilgrim." I'm like, "Okay, like, what? Who's Sam Pilgrim?" It's just like a lot of mountain bikers out there aren't really in that world. You know what I mean? But like the social media aspect, I mean, how many times a week does somebody like him? Well, I mean, he's not a good example now because he has a great social media presence. But somebody else like Richie Rude or something like that. I mean, how many times a week is he getting in front of hundreds of thousands of people?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. Like it's crazy, but you're a celebrity, dude. What's that like?
Well, first I do appreciate the endearment for sure. I mean, there's I wouldn't really consider myself to be like a quote like celebrity, like if you had me and Matt Damon, walking down the street, like no one would care who I was, right? So
right.
like, I'll put it this way, like I'm bike famous. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean it's interesting, right? It comes in different forms, right? So like in some aspects it's awesome, right? You get to meet a lot of really, really cool people. Your fans come up, tell you their incredible stories of like, their life stories and like their trials and tribulations in life and how they were able to overcome it. Like, it's like I got to meet so many cool people and just really get a very rich insight to like really the human experience, right? Like from other people's perspectives and kind of how I see it nowadays too, being able to go places and do certain things that I wasn't able to do before. But then it does come with its other sides of it where it's like, I'll go. I don't really like riding in my area anymore. It's a little tricky. Like back in the day, I could go and ride a trail that wasn't necessarily a bike legal trail, and nothing would happen. There would be no repercussions. No one knew who I was. I could just, I saw someone who maybe didn't want me to be on that trail, and not to say who or what that person may be or their job may be, but I would just ride off and it would be no big deal, right? Now I can't do that. Now everybody knows me. Like everyone who like you don't really necessarily want to know who you are knows me, and like so it has its positives for sure, and it's mostly a positive thing. The negatives really are just where I live. So that's one
I
thing
understand what you're saying there though. I mean, there's like a trail that used to be a legit trail that's closed because of some erosion issues in my area, and I mean, lots of guys are still poaching it, and I'm just like, I just don't want to be the guy that's like that social media dude that they popped freaking down there on that trail. And it's like, so it's like, I get what you're saying, man. It's like you have this different level of like, I don't know, responsibility in some aspect, because you have this. I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely not something you would ever consider like you needed to like think about ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know like I never really considered that like people would recognize me out in public. Like when I started, that wasn't like something that I would have ever thought of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had this at this point. I mean, like you could be in a restaurant and somebody comes up to you and they're like, dude, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like,
yeah, no, that definitely does happen nowadays. And it's hidden. It used to just happen around like biker areas, right? Like let's say there's like a bar or a restaurant, near some system of trails where you're going to probably run into mountain bikers. Like it would start off happening there. Now I'll just, it could be anywhere, I'll be like at my local bagel shop, and then like someone will, be like, oh, dude, you're the guy from the internet or whatever. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, what's up, man? Go and see them. And then they want a picture. And then like now everyone's looking like, who the hell is this guy? Like, what is going on here? And then more people come up, even though like they don't even know who I am. Like they'll just come up and like want a picture too. And I'm just like, okay, like this is happening, I guess.
Now we're doing this.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we're going for the ride now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one that like you said, geographically, it always like made sense to me, especially like even if somebody would like bump into me here, like at a restaurant. Like it's like, okay, dude, like I make a lot of content around this area. It's very likely that, somebody that would see me. But the thing that gets me now is like I'm riding a trail system in a different state. That's not one I've ever done in a video before. And somebody bumps into me and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen your video. And you're like,
yeah.
What? Wait a minute. Like,
well, to be fair, you also do make a very vast array of like different type of content. So you are hitting like a whole different plethora of people who are in the bike world as well. And also you're recognizable too. I mean, I would spot you from a mile away too.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too. Like with you as well. It's like you're not mistaken for like somebody else. Like how many other like 330-pound like what are you like you're like 6'5" or something like that, right?
6'4", let's just say 6'4", 6'5", something like that. Yeah.
Like I would tell my wife 6'5" with boots. Okay, so
6'5".
So you're good, dude. Yeah, I mean, like people aren't gonna miss it, So it's interesting. It's really like is there anything else that like is happening to you that you would have never expected when you started?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, like what's worthy to be on the show is interesting because it's like I mean, I don't know. It's like life just in general is a lot different, than what it used to be before this. It's funny, like when I'm home, like everything, like nothing's different. I'm just like, oh, I'm just a dude at home working on the computer, and I don't really like, it doesn't really connect with me, really like what's going on out there, until I like go out on a ride, go to the bike park, go to an event, leave the world. And then like, I'll be driving, people will like yell at me, like, I'll be on a ride and people are trying to take pictures of me behind my back, like stuff like that. It's like that. It's when I get out there, it changes, right? I try not to like, it's gonna like, no matter what, no matter who you are as a person, like no matter how mentally strong you are or whatever, it's like this, like having a lot of people notice you like constantly, like especially out in the world, it's like, it's gonna weigh in some way or another. So really like the main thing I would say is like, I've had to put a very big focus on just my internal strength, of like, okay, don't become like one of these like crazy people who get a little bit of fame and then they next thing their ego shoots through the roof or something, and then they become like these like untouchable psychopaths basically, right? And then also like just having to be just mentally strong in the sense of like there's like when I look at the numbers, especially some of the videos that have gotten super viral, I'm like, holy crap, like how many people watch that, like really, like and it's like that like weighs down, it's like you don't really understand until you sit there and think about it, and then you're like, whoa, like I had a video that got like 30 million views or something, right? It's like that's the population of California, like that's the fourth largest GDP in the whole world right there. Like how is this happening, and that's when it gets like, whoa, like I have to take a step back and be like, hold on a second, what's like, is this really happening? It's like you kind of have to pinch yourself because you don't really realize it until it's like after the fact and you're like, oh, this is happening. It's like it almost feels, sometimes it almost feels like, if you're like, imagine like rolling down a hill in a car, right? And it's starting to get windy and your brakes fail. That's how it is. You're just like maneuvering, like trying not to hit the walls, and like, it's like constantly you're like, oh, like you're just being taken for it and everything. But it's, it's still like, at the end of the day, it's still an absolutely like incredible experience, to be able to make these types of videos. And like I said, like I try to see nothing but the good side of it. Right. And it's like, what keeps me sane is like the really good people that I have around me, and everyone that I meet is so nice. Like I really don't get much hate, you know, which is the great thing. You know, like there are the oddball, you know, comments of people or like, oh, you fat pig or something, something dumb
Yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah. I
And
love it
like,
when people
that
tell me
does
I'm
happen
fat. I'm like,
sometimes.
I love it when people tell me I'm fat. I'm like, dude, you don't think I have a fucking mirror in my house? Like, like seriously?
Yeah.
Thanks for the enlightenment.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I don't take offense to that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I'm forgetting the saying, but it's like sometimes you need to actually listen to your critics, you know, because a lot of the times your critics are the only ones telling you the truth. Like, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like
I
I try to soak in any kind of information I can, you know, as
yeah.
responsibly as possible.
Yeah.
But no, man, yeah, it's like the car analogy. That's the best way I could put it. It's like, you know, but then, you know, it's like it's uncontrollable, you know, like a lot of these, you know, people who are like actual celebrities, I don't even know how the hell they do it. Like they
Yeah.
like they literally can't even walk out of the house because they have paparazzi sitting there waiting to take photos of them.
Yeah,
Like
it's not.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't understand that. I literally can't comprehend that. Like that's so wild to me. Like wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then it's like, I'm sure you get to a point where it's like, I mean, you know, how many guys that are in the NBA like have like multiple people saying they're having children with them, you know, like,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
weird lawsuits out of nowhere just because people trying to get like money or,
Yeah.
like, oh, they know you got you're loaded. So there's, all these people trying to like swindle you out of it to invest in this or that. And it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's gotta be very overwhelming. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely I'm sure they're all factors that you don't think about before you get started, just like we were talking about earlier, where we're at
Mhm.
and like what we've done. Um, you're just like, hey, I want to go do this because it sounds fun, So, who's Seabass? Like, who are you as like a person? Like, what are you into, man?
Well, it's funny. Like the me 2 years ago was into like working on cars. I was
Mm-hmm.
into like, you know, conspiracy theories, right? Like as many people like to call them. I don't think most of them are conspiracy theories, but let's not get canceled today.
Yeah, right.
Like you
Now I
know,
know why
like
you and Richard are friends. Okay, now I get
yeah.
it.
The times I'm over at his shop, I'm like, it turns into some conversations that I'm really glad there's no security cameras watching us. Like,
Right.
it's like, oh, I got to put my phone on airplane mode now.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, man. Like, you know, that kind of stuff. I just, you know, traveling. I've always been a big person into traveling. I mean, I love it. I love seeing the world. You know,
Mhm.
like that's one of the things that I'm very like one of the first things that kind of drew me to pursuing this kind of life once we started, you know, like actually seeing that we could make this a reality to us.
Mhm.
Because there was a point where we could have been like, all right, this is too much, nope, cut it off here, no more videos, you know.
Yeah.
We're kind of beyond that now. Like there's really like I sometimes feel like there's no return at this point, you know. But
Mhm.
um I'm really like that's one of the coolest things about everything that we do is like we get to travel like so many places, you know, and for so many different reasons too. You know, and I think that's been one of the really coolest things that like I always wanted to travel growing up. We were very lucky. Like my parents, you know, we would be the family that like typical blue collar working family. You know,
Mhm.
dad was in construction. You know, mom worked a regular office job, um, and they for them it wasn't, oh, let's buy a new car. Like no, like for them was like, hey, whatever extra we have this year, you know, if any, it's like, let's go and take the kids somewhere. Let's take them over
Yeah.
here. You know, let's expose them to what other people and other cultures are like, you know. And so we were very, very blessed in that sense where like my parents, you know, although times were never, I mean, you know, everyone grows up in some kind of hardship, right? And
Yeah.
you know, times were never like totally perfect. Like, you know, they always made a point to take us and show us, and they really like, I'm so lucky to have my parents that like they were able to take us to, you know, Mexico at a very early age, you know, to this place, to that place and stuff like that. So I've always wanted to travel and continue on that kind of, you know, ethos in life that my parents instilled in me. So
Yeah.
it's very cool to be able to kind of do that nowadays. And And next year we want to do like a few other places, you know, go further and wilder than we have before. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you used to work on cars?
Yeah, I'm a big car guy. You can't actually
So-
see it, but behind the camera right now, I have it's not mine, but it's a 1968 AMC Javelin, and that thing is in the process of restoration. I might show it to the world at some point, but
Yeah.
that thing needs a lot of work. I also I'm a big BMW guy too, so I've got like an old, you know, 1989 325i, the E30 as many people call it. Another BMW. We've had BMWs, just like little clunkers that we'll buy for really cheap, and then like put some work into them, make them nicer, and just like enjoy them, right? And yeah, that was kind of what I started off doing first. I actually had a YouTube channel doing that. That's really the origin of the whole YouTube stuff. Is like I actually had a YouTube channel where I made long form videos of me just working on my BMW. And you can't find those videos. Don't try looking for them. I deleted all the videos, but yeah, no, I had a few that actually got like a couple 100,000 views. I remember one time, like, this is before you had to like really get super nitty gritty with like the AdSense stuff on YouTube. Like, I remember I checked my like creator account once, like years and years ago, and then all of a sudden there was like $1,000 in there, and I was like, where did this come from? You know? And I was like, I'm like, no way. And then I found out one of my videos like went like some kind of viral, and I was like, no way, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you could have any car to like in your garage, what would it be?
Oh, I hate this question, man. This is if
you
you
need
ever
to have
asked
three?
a true car guy. What was that?
Do you need three? Is that what it is?
Oh man. See, I don't even know if I want to answer this question because it's gonna tell anybody who knows cars and knows people who buy certain cars, it's gonna expose too much about me, man.
Yeah. Not ready for that, huh?
I'll give you one. How about that? I'll give you one car that I admire a lot.
Okay.
How about that?
What's that?
I really like. This is gonna sound super like I don't know if I could swear, but it's gonna sound super like fuckboy. But
you can say whatever you want, man. It's a bar, dude.
All right, cool. It's the Murcielago LP670-4 SV. It's a big mouth. It's the Lamborghini Murcielago SV, right? They only had it for one generation. They made that particular car, and like, holy moly, man! That's more nostalgia for me than like, oh, I just like that car. Like on one of the trips that my parents took us when we were kids, like. I actually we found ourselves in a very very wealthy part of this somewhat very popular city. And we were just there visiting. We were not staying in hotels there. Let me just be very, very clear. We literally, as the peasants we are, walked into the area or took like a cab or something.
Yeah.
We were just walking around. And the only reason why we went there is because my parents knew that I liked cars when we were kids and stuff. So they were like, oh man, this particular part of the city has cars. And so they brought us in there, and sure enough, man, we pull up to this hotel, and there's just like every type of hypercar, like supercar you could imagine that was cool back then. This is like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And and imagine me like a 10, 12-year-old boy just sitting there just like, oh my God, and it's like, and we then found out it was actually a super, super wealthy oil sheik from the Middle East somewhere. I don't know exactly who it was, but like this guy comes out, wearing like these really nice, forgive my ignorance, I don't really know the names of the gowns that they wear over there, but he comes out there wearing this nice stuff. He's got all of his wives coming out, all the kids coming out, and like they're all just like, each wife is going into like one of these like hyper cars, and like he gets in, and I'm sitting there like looking at this Lamborghini of his, and it's the Lamborghini Murcielago SV, and it's like, and he had gotten a pink. I'm sorry, this one was purple. Sorry, he had two. One of them was a matte purple, and one of them was a matte pink. And these were factory colors, like actual factory. They were the only two, I think, that Lamborghini ever produced in those colors. And I literally saw them both there at the same time. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and there's a picture my parents have of me sitting there just like drooling over this car, right? And he comes over to me, and he's like, oh, you like it, God? And I'm like, yeah, it's very nice. He's like, hey, listen to this. And he gets in and like revs it for me and drives off. And I was just like, I just melted, man. I was like, there's no way that just happened. So that's why that car is like very, very special to me. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it was never really that great of a car. It was a good one, but it's like, you know, that it just has a very, it's very deep in my heart, you know?
Yeah. It's very nostalgic. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Have you ever like thought about going out and like renting one of those cars for a day? I mean, have you driven something like that? Like one of those super high-end sports cars?
I have, so I haven't driven a Lamborghini before. I have been in one. Not the Murcielago. I sat in the Gallardo a few years back. I just went to a car show, and I was like back when I was doing photography stuff. I just went. That was a stint of me, a part of my life that I wanted to be like a car photographer, and I just went around and just from meeting people, like I got to sit in their cars and like take photos with them, drive around in them and stuff, and like I never drove one of those cars. I still haven't to this day. But we're working towards it. All right. We're working towards it. So.
Yeah. I've seen those videos online where it's like, this rich dude's wife or whatever, like rents him a Ferrari for a day or something like that. And I've always thought that would be pretty rad just to like drive one around for a day, like take a little day trip up to Tahoe and just like whip around some like mountain roads and hopefully not wreck, that would be pretty rad. That would be a good time to do something like that. Definitely. Yeah. That would be a lot of fun. I've never been in one of those type of cars. There's a place down the street from me that works on them all the time. They're always sitting out there on the street. Yeah.
I feel like I would never really fit in one though. That's
right.
That's my only problem.
That's the problem there. You're like, this is gonna not work.
Yeah. But hey,
funny.
knowing me, I would make it work though. I'd like cut my legs off to be able to drive a Lambo or something. I don't know. Shave a little off the top of my head,
Just a little, right? So, I mean, it sounds like through this conversation, you've been building to where you're at, like slowly over the years. So at one point you're a photographer. At one point you're starting a YouTube channel. Like, was it just like an interest in like video and like cameras from a young age? Was this something you did in like middle school or high school or something? Or
yeah. That's an interesting one. I think about this all the time. It's like I don't really understand how this started. I really don't know. I don't know where it started. It must have been, from an early age. I was just always interested in cameras. Like I've always liked the idea of being able to go out and document something, to be able to see it, in 20 years time, 30 years time, 50 years time, I've always loved history, also. And I think it kind of all bundles in, and I think, it's always been like the really cool videos of, seeing old, anything from like stuff from like World War II to like, whatever kind of history was going on that was interesting and notable back in the day. It was just always interested me of like, wow, we can capture these moments. It's somewhat how they were. Obviously, you're never going to get the sense. You're never going to get the feel, the vibe, right? But you can capture at least what it looked like and what it sounded like, right? And that's always kind of really drawn me, to cameras. And the funny thing is, I'm not a movie person, so it never came from a cinema background. It was always like strictly like let me try to capture this to remember it, and then also a very artistic thing to me too. Like even to this day, even though I don't make edits, like we'll make like riding clips and stuff, but like my favorite type of mountain bike content is like the cinematic edits. It's like the freaking Mind Spark Media stuff. It's like the Sylvia film stuff from back in the days. It's the Isaac Wallen videos filming Brandon Semenuk, doing this crazy slow-mo like tire tap thing. Like I love that stuff. That's the kind of content I want to produce. But obviously for anyone that watches my stuff, I don't make that kind of content. But that's the stuff that I really, really appreciate. I genuinely like, I'll just be driving somewhere on the road and I'll be like, that's a cool hill to build like a jump on. And then I can get a shot with the sunset coming down at golden hour and like all this blah, blah, blah. Like my head's always doing that, like constantly. I can't turn it off.
Yeah, there's a song I heard recently and the song just instantly like made this entire edit in my head. It's like exactly like that, where it's like, this song's so sick. And like, I could see everything, like, The sunset, the riding, like in my mind, it was like a build ride kind of video. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's interesting how I think when you get into this space, you really start to like think about things that in a different angle like that, you know?
Yeah.
I would say though, I mean, you got to do that specialized video a while back where you were magically somebody else or the evil twin, or I don't know what you want to call it exactly. Like, what was that experience like?
Oh, dude, that was unreal, man. Like it was first of all, I just got to give a shout out to the guys that were all involved in that project, you know. The video guys, you know, like Drew and Matt. I mean, those guys were super, super cool. Like being out there riding with Cody Kelly, you know, a dude that like I had looked up to for a very, very long time. You know, that was just an unreal experience. And then of course the rest of the team, you know, having them out there, it's just been like, you know, it was just one of those experiences I'm never going to forget. You know, it was the first ever like real video project that I had ever been a part of. You know, and it was tough, man. It was really, really challenging. Like I look back still to this day and I'm like, wow, those were some of the hardest days filming I've ever had. I mean, it was 5 to 6. I remember 5 or 6 days straight of wake up early, right at the crack of dawn, make food, get in the truck, drive out there, make sure we get the good lighting. Then like maybe we stop for a few hours and go back up there, drive, you know, ride, you know, film, climb back up, film that again, climb up again 4 more times, film that. Oh, we didn't get a shot 10 more times, climb back up. You know,
Yeah.
like it was like one of the coolest, but also one of the most hardest experiences I've ever had, where it's like physically hardest. I swear I lost like 20 pounds on that trip in this 5 or 6 days, man.
Yeah.
Because we were burning so many calories, dude. And
Yeah.
and another thing too, this is why I'm so like stern on like e-bikes are just, I mean, yeah, they make it easier, but they're just like people like, it's not that they're like, you know, people are lazy for riding e-bikes. Like that was, we were on e-bikes the whole time. And it was no easier than being on a normal bike for filming, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm sure you learned a lot. Like it probably gave you a whole different perspective on like how they shoot compared to like what your video production was like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and Matt and Drew both, like they're the videographers. I mean, they are like they know what they're doing. Like they have the eye for it. Like we were sitting there sometimes and like they were just freehanding holding the camera, you know, and like we would see him, he'd be like, okay, you're gonna come around the corner here, and then we're gonna be here, and then just make it look steezy right here. We're like, okay, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind like that's gonna be a hard shot to get, and then they just run up like running the camera, and like they get like the fine-tuned, you know, perfect shot of like the dust coming off of Cody's tire as he's doing like a whip, and it's like I'm like looking at this footage, just like, what in the heck? How did you get that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I like come to like is, oh my God, all that footage. How do you go through that for the edit?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot, man. And we didn't even use like most of the footage too. Like there's entire days where we were filming the whole day, you know? And I didn't see a single shot from those days in the video. Like there's entire like sections of trail that like we spent hours on going up and down that none of it went in the video. So it's like, you know, you really have to like, and that's really hard too, because you have to follow the storyline, right? You have to follow the script that was given, right? And that's something that was kind of fluid. Like you could kind of, you know, one day we were like thinking, oh, we're going to film this in this particular way. The next day we were like, oh, it would actually be funnier, or it would make more sense to have it shot in this direction. Or, you know, if we go over there and get a shot that looks like this, you know, it was very like, you know, in some ways it was extremely relaxed of a video shoot, but in other ways it was like, it was extremely intense because, you know, yeah, we're out there having fun, you know, we're all bros, you know, we're high-fiving, drinking beers, you know, and like, but then you think like, oh, this is like a big project. Like we have to we have to actually produce something really good here. We got to produce something that people are going to want to watch and people are going to remember it, right? And so it was a very unique experience, a very interesting experience, and a lot of work went into it. And like, I'm more than happy with how it came out. So
they like reach out to you. They're like, "Hey, we want to do this promo video with you," and you're like, "Yeah, I'm down." And then that was it, or did you like get the script and then look at it first, or did you pitch them some kind of idea? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of both. They were like, Specialized approached us and they're like, "Hey, we have this idea. There's this bike coming out." And the funny thing is, I got to back up actually, because we filmed this, like the Levo SL, which was the bike that the video was for, that was released a couple months ago. This video, we filmed it a year before the bike even came out. Like, this was done. I knew about I knew about the bike. I knew about like how it worked. I knew all that stuff way before the bike even came out. And and they said, they're like, "Hey, keep this confidential. There's this bike coming out. We want to do a video with it. There's going to be 2 or 3 videos that are going to come out. We want you to be in one of those videos." And we're like, "Okay, cool." And they're like, "Okay, but we need your help with the idea for it." So we're like, "Cool." So we got together with the filmers and kind of the crew just in general, and we went back and forth for like a month or 2 on like ideas, like, "Hey, how about this? Will this work? What about going this direction with it?" And we basically just like jotted down a whole bunch of ideas of how we would want the video to kind of be, like a general script.
But at this point, you're not even like Cody Kelly. You're like one of your riders that's a pro rider or something like that. Or
yeah, I was actually just going to add that in. So Cody was part of the original process as well. So
okay, cool.
They were like, Specialized was like, "We want Cody Kelly and we want Mtber to be in this video."
Got it.
Right. So they were like, "We want this, like, have fun. Here's the budget. Go have fun." That was basically what it was. And so we got, like I said, we all kind of just like for like a month or 2, we just went back and forth on like how the script was going to work, Zoom calls, ideas. Oh, like then we would put something down. This is fantastic. We got out there and it's like, "Oh, we got to adjust this. This actually won't make much sense." And another thing that was really challenging about that is that, at the time that we were coming up with the video for that, we didn't know many details on the bike actually, which was funny because they were still working out some stuff. So they had some general topics to touch over. But what's funny is that like when the video actually came out, we got more like towards the time when we were starting to edit it and stuff. I'm pretty sure we didn't get the full list of details until we were actually out filming. So then I think we got like an email and like got it shared. They're like, "Yeah, this is like the key things you have to hit." And we're like, "All right, cool. We can do that. No problem."
Because you were on the actual bike though in the video, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the real bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bike, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but the bike that was actually in the video, there was some differences of that bike compared to what's on the bike that you could buy today.
Yeah, so it was still like a preliminary like model.
Yeah.
Like
it was way pre-production. There was only, I think at the time there was only like 4 or 5 of them in the world, and we had one of them, 2 of them, sorry.
Right.
And the other few were like in Europe or something for like the global video. And so that was an experience because we got handed the first day we got handed the bikes. They're like, "Don't break anything." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "You're handing this bike to me, right?" Like,
right. Yeah. Have you guys done all the testing? Because
yeah. They actually, it's funny. Like they, after we did that video, I was talking to some of the guys at the factory, and they were like, "Yeah, when we got the bike back from you, we were able to see some of the stuff, and they actually were able to make some improvements after." After I gave the bike back, they were like, "Yeah, we saw a little bit of wear here, or like blah 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 blah." I don't want to get too technical. They told me all the things, but like they were able to actually improve the bike even more after that video shoot because I put it through the freaking ringer, man. Yeah. So funny enough, the bike that you can actually buy off the shelf today is better than the bike that we had in the video. So yeah.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
So you got this relationship with Specialized, like while Specialized like dumped a whole bunch of their people. Have you ever gotten any flack about that?
No, I wouldn't say flack. I just had a lot of people asking me questions. Like that was the only thing. I mean, I would be honest. I don't really like. I'm not really too involved with that world of things. You know, that side of things.
Yeah.
We're extremely blessed to be in the position that we're in. And I know that like, you know, there was a lot of people that were dropped. And that's
Yeah.
always, that's never good, you know, and you know, and it's one of those things that like, you know, the bike industry sometimes is really, really volatile.
Yeah.
So I can see both sides of it, right? I see the whole, oh man, like, you know, probably wasn't good to just let go of people right away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but then I also see the other side of like, oh yeah, this is a business, you know, like
Yeah.
things just happen like that, especially after like running my own business for so many years now. It's like there's some stuff that comes up that like you can't predict, you know, like, you
Yeah.
know, it's that's one of the things, and it's not to like not to patch things up at all coming from me, but it's like it's just one of those things where like I understand it, you know. I understand things are very volatile. Like at the end of the day, like the bike industry, it's still very small. Like if you really look
Yeah.
at it from a grand scheme perspective, it still is very small. And so I feel like news also travels fairly quickly, and I feel like sometimes there is a little bit of bias as well
Yeah.
on both sides. Like I'm obviously biased to Specialized, right? But then there's also like on the other side of things, like there's also people who are biased towards talking smack about Specialized. It's like there's like a whole
Yeah.
plethora of people out there that just want to
Yeah.
like you know. So
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean,
you know, yeah,
it is.
yeah,
I was just curious, honestly. Like, um, it, it was definitely like one of those things where, you know, I heard people say these things, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So it was
yeah,
like, wow, they got rid of X pro rider and then they picked up these like social media people. And you know what I mean? It's like, you
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
I
No,
mean, I know at the end of the day, like my perspective is like, that's not your position to be like, that's not something you should be concerned with. Like
yeah,
they came to you, they gave you this opportunity, you ran with it. And I think that's the, you know,
exactly.
that
Yeah,
it's not like you
yeah.
were like, hey, Specialized, could you let go some of your people to pick me up? You know,
No,
like,
no.
you know,
I really had nothing to do with it. I
yeah,
don't. I mean, I don't think I had anything to do with it.
yeah,
I
no,
know
I'm
that
sure you
like,
didn't.
you know, our whole thing is that like, you know, I just want to like, if I'm gonna be in business with anybody, you know, it's like especially when it comes to like bike brands, like I'm not gonna like, you know, try to get a fast one out of anybody. You know, like
Yeah,
I want to actually produce good stuff. I want to have a good relationship with people. Like I want to fulfill my promises and then some.
yeah,
Um, and you know, and then but then on the other side, like I also do understand the business side of it. You know, it's like you
yeah,
can't let things get too personal.
yeah,
And with Specialized in particular, like I have like such a long history with that brand from the
yeah,
get-go. It's like, you know, like my first bike was a Specialized, like my first real bike was. And it's like,
yeah,
you know, so that's one of the things where it's like it's very, very deep for me, where it's like, you know, like they've treated me so well, like not just in the current professional times, but like back when
yeah,
I was, you know, younger. It's like that's my best memories are on a Specialized,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So
yeah. No, I totally get it,
it's like
man.
yeah, you know, so I'm just in a position where it's like I fully understand like how the whole business side of things works. I get it, you know, and simultaneously, like I'm also extremely, you know, like not to simp or anything, right? But like I'm
Mhm.
also like extremely blessed to be in the position that we're in. And like we've made a lot of really, really good friends with of people at the company, and they've shown us nothing but love, and it's just been
Yeah,
amazing being able to get to know everybody over there and like work with them and everything. It's like I don't know, man. It's it's just such an ebb and flow, you know, with the
hmm,
industry that it's I've kind of promised myself not to take things like that personally. If negative things do ever end up happening or whatever, it's like, you know,
yeah,
it just is what it is. Like we're all out there. The economy's not the best right now. Like
yeah.
these things are gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, man. I think the other thing too, like what you were talking about earlier, is like I'm pretty sure you're doing the same thing where it's like you don't want to work with brands that you don't actually like stand behind, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like I got that Cushcore box back there because I like using Cushcore. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's not because they like sent me some free product and I'm like, I'm in, you know,
yeah, yeah,
like I really dig it, you know, and
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly our
and
perspective on it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The one thing that like I've been thinking about lately is, I personally am at a spot where the bikes that I'm building are like pretty high end bikes, and I feel like how am I contributing to like people that's not their budget? I've been trying to think of that. And I mean, even yourself, like you went from, a pretty like aluminum build kind of like stock kind of like low end build bike to like what you're riding now. The bikes you're riding are all freaking legit, like how do you how do you think about that?
Yeah, I always, forever and ever, I'm gonna love my less expensive aluminum heavy like clunkers, I guess you could say. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always gonna have love. Like if the world were to end tomorrow and I only had one bike left, it would probably be my status. My status 160.
Mm-hmm.
Aluminum bomb proof. Never failed me bike, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I do come from that's my world. Like my world is I'd rather take a bike out that's just going to work, and then I can ride and make the ride for what it is, rather than like
Mm-hmm.
try to rely on the bike to be the ride for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's very much my approach to things. But with that being said, having the carbon nice bikes with the carbon wheels and the nice drivetrains and nice brakes, it's freaking dope, man.
Yeah.
It does make a difference for sure. It makes it that much easier to be able to go out there and actually pretend to be Brandon Semenuk. So,
Yeah. I think especially as bigger guys, like I think the carbon wheels are a huge thing. Like I just like I didn't realize how much I like felt flexing wheels before I started riding carbon wheels.
like, are you saying like you don't ride carbon wheels? Or you're only riding carbon wheels now?
I only ride carbon and but I didn't realize that I didn't realize how flexy wheels were until I started riding carbon. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
just thought that's how it was all the time. But it's like also, but because I'm bigger, the way that I would make them feel like even now, like if I don't ride a 29er for a while and I get on a 29er, like I can feel the wheels like flexing in even with carbon, like in like rocky areas or in some like certain situations, right? And it takes me like a couple of weeks of riding a 29er until I'm like able to not pay attention to it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And those aren't like experiences that people that are, 100 pounds lighter than me, they're like, no, dude, these wheels are fucking solid, dude. They're like the stiffest wheels I've ever had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, they don't even know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think the same thing goes with like brakes. It's like, I actually took your advice on my last build, and you told me when we were riding up in Georgetown, you were like, dude, why are you on 203s? Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like get 223s or two, yeah, I did it on the last build, and dude, it's a difference,
Yeah.
and especially like that's not like, it doesn't make sense for my buddy that weighs 165 pounds to put those brakes on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But for us, it's like, dude, I mean, if you had 180s on your bike, your braking experience is going to be pretty shitty.
Yeah. What braking experience?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, do you think that like how do you think that, what am I trying to say here? Like if you're building a bike, what components as a big guy are like big priority to you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the top of the list for me, like, and I'm not. Before I say any of this stuff, I'm not necessarily trying to plug anybody in particular. But we do, full disclaimer, like we do work with a few of these brands. So, like Cushcore, for example, like at the top of the list, like I have to have Cushcore on my tires. Like I'm so used to it now. It's just so much better now, like than just having just regular tubeless. It's like having that Cushcore in there makes such a big difference for me that I mean, I'll ride a bike without Cushcore, but like I'm not going to do any real riding with it. So that's the very top thing. And then sticking with the tires, like I have to have the gravity casing tires, right? So we run the Specialized tires. Big fan of them. Those ones, like they come in a few different varieties. There's the trail casing, so on and so forth. But they also have the gravity casing too, which is like the type of casing like Loic Bruni or Finn Isles. Those guys are in the World Cup stages. Those are the tires that I run, right? I love the Cannibals, right? Those ones and the Hillbillies. I love both of those tires, man.
Are you doing that for like pinch reasons or for sidewall reasons? What's your reason for the gravity casing?
It's all of the above for me. The trail tires are really good. I do have some bikes that have trail tires on them. But I usually just use those tires for, if I want like a cross country, like super chill, like ride where I know I'm not going to hit any like rock gardens. I know I'm not going to hit any jumps, like I'll use it for those. Right. But for like my everyday bikes that like, my Enduro, for example, right. Like I'll have gravity tires on that no matter what. And I don't care about weight or anything, even though they don't even weigh that much. Like I just don't even care about weight. Like I want to be able to go out there and not have to worry about my tire exploding on me,
Yeah.
So like the combo of, the Cushcore, the DH tires, also like rims are another important thing. We do run the Revol wheels. I get a lot of hate, dude. People hate that I run those wheels. I don't understand why, but they're freaking awesome, man. I haven't had to replace a wheel like ever. I'm sorry, I lied. The only time I had to replace one of those wheels is when I got hit on the highway and my bike was on the rack and a car smashed into me and it broke the wheel. And that's the only time I ever had to replace one of those wheels. But yeah, I mean,
and that Specialized brand of wheel is what it is, right?
Yeah, Revol. Yeah, they're the Specialized. Yeah. They're like, it's interesting. Like I guess they're like they're under the Specialized umbrella. But like the engineers and stuff, I think I met one of the engineers. They're like kind of their own separate thing. Yeah. And they're kind of part of DT Swiss also. So a lot of the same technology is back and forth. Like all the new, like Revol just recently had a drop of like new carbon wheels, like all their whole new line of wheels just released, and they're actually really, really cool. I've been running them on a few of my bikes, and they are like, I'm very impressed at what an improvement these wheels are. It's amazing. We actually were up in Whistler. I got to test them all out in Whistler for the first time. Like that was my first ever ride on them. And man, I did 2 weeks of riding on those wheels, on the alloy ones, and they still look dead straight, like not a single kink in them at all, and they're still running exactly as when I put them out of the box, and that's like hardcore. Like I don't know if you've ever been to Whistler before, but it is. There's some trails up there that are freaking intense, and that is nothing ever happened. So the wheels there, I run the Revol wheels. I avoid carbon cranks. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I don't go anywhere near carbon cranks.
What's your reason?
Well,
have you broke some?
Have
you broke some?
Well, I've never even used them before. I've ridden them on other bikes. I've used them before. I've never personally owned a pair of carbon cranks.
So what is the reason then that you're anti-carbon then? What's the reason?
It's not anti-carbon. It's just anti-carbon cranks.
Yeah. Okay.
It's it's just that like that's a spot. I'm trying to like think. I know what it is. I'm not just stumbling on the reason why. I know the reasons, the very particular reasons why. I just don't want to get in trouble for saying something. Like that's the thing, right?
Okay.
Let's just say this. I have trust issues.
No,
it's a me problem. Let's just say
I understand.
Right? Like
I mean, I've ridden carbon cranks for quite some time.
Yeah.
I've broken more than one set. So I mean it definitely happens. But I've also, I've broke a freaking aluminum one, like snapped the fucking bottom bracket before, where I had to pedal out with one leg. So like shit fucking breaks, man. Like at the end of the day, this is mountain biking, and we're on the higher end of the threshold of like product testing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very much so.
Yeah.
that's
So no.
that's one of the things. That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I say it's a me problem. Like
Yeah.
if you're out there, if you weigh 125 pounds, 150 pounds, you're fine. Just get whatever cranks. You're not going to break any, right?
Yeah.
Or not. Never say never, but it's going to
Yeah.
be really hard for you to break a pair of
Yeah.
cranks, right? But if you're 300 to 350 like I am, like I probably not a good idea to run carbon.
Yeah.
Like anything other than carbon frames,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I would
didn't
say.
know if there was like a flex thing or something that you had like specifically experienced, or it's just, I mean, your reason of just because is good enough. Like it doesn't have to be like some freaking morally like expansive reason. Like, yeah, I just decided I don't like them. Like that's
no,
cool.
I have reasons. Trust me, I
Yeah.
have reasons beyond just my own.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, there was a certain point where I always took my riding like I every time you do something on your bike, it's like a risk reward kind of like matrix that you run in your head, and like, is it worth this? And then like for me, for a long time, I always thought like, hey, I'm keeping this risk at a place where I feel like it's manageable for like what the reward is. And zero part of that did I ever think about any of my gear failing to cause the risk to be higher. Like for me, it was always like, if I like break my arm, it's because I did something stupid, or like if I freaking, break my neck and I'm a quadriplegic, it's because I was going too fast on something that I couldn't like handle or something like that.
Yeah.
But I never once thought until like something failed and it was like, hey, I had a fork fail. And next thing you know, separated my shoulder and I couldn't ride bike for 6 months. Like that was never in that matrix, so it really like changed my perspective for a long time. And it took me a long time to get like over the fear of something out of my control, like happening.
Yeah.
And even now, like sometimes, dude, it's like, I'm an overthinker, man. Like I'm always like processing shit all the time. That's one of the reasons I love biking, is because like when you're screaming down a hill, you actually can't think about anything else than like what you're doing, right?
Yep.
But like sometimes you get out there and you start thinking, dude, if my handlebar snapped right now, you're like, whoa, stop. Like we can't go down this road or you won't be doing this anymore, like you know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain point where like you got to just, I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, you're definitely like, you're a big guy. Like, do you have those battles sometimes in your head?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And there's, I've been very lucky to where I haven't had anything catastrophic like that ever happen to me. I've never had frames snap on me, like I've never had like wheels blow up before. I mean, intentionally I have. Intentionally, when I'm trying to break shit, right? But no, man, I mean, I'm very lucky to where I haven't had like any serious things like that happen. But it really is always in the back of my mind. I mean, I think especially like I was just in Utah, for example, right? And for anybody who's been out there, for those who haven't been out there, sorry. It completely changes your perspective of what can be done on a bike. We were out there for Red Bull Rampage, and so we saw the event live. We were out there on site. It's one thing seeing it on video. It's a totally different world seeing it in real life. It brought so much trust to me for bike products. Because most of these dudes, they're not running, like most of them aren't running some specialty double the amount of carbon for extra strength. Like, nah, dude, like they're running just off the shelf parts. And it's surviving. Like none of the dudes had a catastrophic mechanical. Like none of them did. And they're hitting stuff that is 50 times bigger than anything else I would ever hit. And so like when you go out there, like, after the event, we went out to the old Rampage site, which for those people who don't know, it's like the sites where Rampage happens today. Nowadays, it's on private land, which is why they're able to make it happen. But some of the original Rampage sites, those are actually all on public BLM land. So anybody can go out there and ride all of that stuff. It's all still there. Everyone still maintains it. Like they're always digging jumps and drops and stuff. So you can literally pull up in your car, park, walk right up, and you're looking at the old features. You know, there's the Bender Sender, you know, Josh Bender, for those of you guys who follow the free ride scene, like his drops are all there. Anyone can hit them. You know,
Yeah.
it's all right there. And there's some moments for me, going back to the components question you had. It's like, there's some moments for me where I'm sitting at the top of some of these jumps and drops, and I'm just like, man, like, you're looking at this, like, first of all, can I hit this? Second of all,
Yeah.
if I do muster up the balls to hit this, like, is my bike going to survive? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a genuine fear, you know? And like I said, I've been very lucky to not have catastrophic failures before. But it's a thought that, like, it's an unknown thing, because I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like for a fork to snap. And next thing you know, you're going over I don't know what that's like. I really genuinely don't.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, your cranks fall apart, you know, or like the wheel snaps in half while you're in the air or something. You know, it's like, I don't know what that's like. So there's always that in the back of my mind of, like, is it worth it? You know, is it worth it to hit this? Is it worth it to put myself and my bike through this risk? I'm 1,000 miles from home. You know, the nearest hospital is 30 minutes away. Like, am I, you know, is this worth it? Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it that we just take for granted. Like how many times have you been to Downeyville?
Like maybe 4 or 5 times.
Right. And like every year somebody dies up there. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
Oh, geez.
So it's like, you know, we just take it for granted, dude. We're up there having a good time, freaking drinking beers at lunch and go do another lap, you know?
Wow.
And it's like, you like, at the end of the day, the sport that we're doing is it's dangerous. Even in the, like, in the, we're not rampage rider, you know, like, people, but like, it's still a dangerous sport, you know? And it's crazy to, like, you have to put that into perspective. You know what I mean? You definitely do.
Yeah.
But what was that like, being out there at Rampage? The one short that you guys did, I thought was like so good, where you're sitting on the couch and you're looking at them do the jumps and you're like, you got this look on your face, like, I could do that. And then you roll up and you guys just pan out. And it was like, honestly, it was such a great shot of, like, where that was panned to, that it put it in a totally different perspective. I mean, you see those guys with those jumps and it doesn't look like, I mean, it looks big. Like, there's no way, like, it doesn't. But that shot really, even for me, like, put it into a lot of perspective.
Yeah. No, it's first of all, shout out to my buddy Ryan Rodriguez. Yeah, he was the guy in that video. He's one of those guys that hits everything. I mean, he's out there hitting all that stuff. All the Rampage guys are hitting. And you know, that particular drop in that video, it's, you stand at the top of that, and again, like the video that I made, you know, making fun of that drop, you don't even see the, like, it's a better perspective, but you really don't understand it. Like, you don't get it. Like it's something that, like, your brain can't comprehend watching a video on YouTube or something, right? Because it's another thing when you walk up and you're standing on top of the drop looking down, and you're just like, you just get the like the cold chills just fill your body, and you're just like, there's no way. Like, it's really one of those things where you walk out there and you look at these features and you're like, wait. Someone's ridden this? Like, it blows. There's, like, I mean, I know you live in the California, Sacramento area, right? Yeah. So it's like, you know, there is nothing that I'm aware of within a 5-hour drive of where we live, because I'm only a few hours away from you. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that I'm aware of. Like, you can go to Santa Cruz and, like, the biggest feature out there. You can go up to Tahoe, the biggest feature over there. Yeah. There is nothing within hours and hours of a drive of where we live that it comes even remotely close to as big as the biggest features out in Utah. Yeah. Like, it is unreal. And I mean, to be fair, we don't really have the environment to be able to do that around here. Like, I mean, if you look at the topography of that area, it's like mesas, right? It's all these ancient mesas, you know, that have worn down over thousands and millions of years probably. So they've created, like, this perfect environment for you to just build ginormous features. And that, on top of that, it's like the dirt's also really good out there too. You know, it's dusty, it's sandy, but if you can get water out there and pack it down, I mean, it's better than most dirt I've ever seen in the world, of the places that I've traveled to for riding. So it's like, you do have the perfect setup to be able to do that, but it's still, man, like, I don't even know, like, I still haven't processed, like, any of it. It's still.
What was that
up
experience like being there? I mean, that's not like, I'm pretty sure that's not open to the public, is it?
The Rampage sites, like the current ones.
Yeah.
So you can. I don't want to speak for it, but
yeah, but generally speaking, like Rampage is not like they're selling tickets for like Joe Schmo to come show up and like cheer on, right?
No, you have to.
Yeah, it's like invite.
No, you can buy tickets. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can. They sell out like within minutes, though. But like, you can buy tickets. So.
Oh, okay.
How about this? I'll just give you the run through of like the experience then.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear it, man.
So for people who haven't been there, I don't know what it's like in the past, but this is how my experience was this past year. So we bought the tickets online, right? We had to sit there on the computer, reloading, and then we got lucky, and we actually got 2 tickets for me and my brother. Mm-hmm. And so we bought the tickets, right? They were like $500 per ticket. We ended up doing like the VIP passes because we were going to do filming and stuff. But it wasn't that necessary. We got extra bonuses like food. We got to walk out on course and all that stuff. But for the average person, just the regular ticket was probably the best option. You get out there, you actually go to Utah, you go out to Virgin, right? It's a little town in the desert, just outside of St. George. And you're immediately greeted with like incredible mesas, right? To get to the actual event, we had to meet at this like little like makeshift, like parking lot that was in on some random farm field in the town of Virgin. Like it was nowhere near the event. And we got into these little buggies, right? These like Jeeps and like off-road vehicles at like 6 a.m. in the morning. We had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get out there to be in the shuttle by 6 a.m. for a 10 a.m. Start time for Rampage. And
oh wow.
Yeah, it was an intense day, man. And and so we're sitting there, it's freezing cold. Like it was like 30 degrees out. We're shivering there. I'm in shorts and I'm just like, oh geez. Like, you know? And so then they eventually take you out onto this property, right? So you go across the road and it turns instantly into dirt. And you're on this hardcore off-roading trail. And you're just like on this Jeep bouncing all over the place, going up over hills, down valleys, over rivers. Like you're full on off-roading out there. And then all of a sudden it just opens up and you come closer and closer to these mesas. And then there's the site. Then you see it. And when you get to this area, it's about like maybe 3 to 4 miles of off-roading out into this property. When you finally do see the mesas, I mean, you know where you're at. Like you start to see features that you've seen on the internet. You start to see big jumps. Like you see like a takeoff and then nothing. And then like maybe what looks like a landing 100 feet away. And you're just like, okay, that's what it is, right? You pull in and then you start walking out to the actual site where they do the competition. And you get there and it's just as you see on TV. I mean, you got the Red Bull banners everywhere. You have, Cam McCall and Nikolai Rogatkin. They're over there in this tent, talking to the camera with their headphones on, being all serious and stuff. And you got like pro athletes, Kyle Straight's walking over this way, Cam Zink's over there, Ben Vay's walking. You see him up there finishing something on his line, just everybody. And you're just walking amongst all of this, man. Yeah. And so
you're surrounded by like all your like movie star idols.
It's the coolest thing, man. Like they're literally right there. Like you are with here to there, able to touch them, right? Not that you should. You'll get punched in the face if you do. But like,
were you fanboying a little? Like, were you like?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like. Yeah. And it's pretty cool because going along with what kind of a question that you asked me earlier about like what's changed with all this social media stuff. Like we're in a very I feel so lucky because it's like a lot of these dudes I grew up watching, I grew up idolizing them, and now we just show up and like Kyle Straight comes over. He's like, dude, what's up, man? Like, chatting with him for a little bit. Cam Zink's over there. What's up, dude? Say hi. Like, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Like it's not the, oh, can I get a picture? It's more like, dude, come over here. Come check this out. It's like one of those kinds of things now. Right. So that's really, really cool. Just being able to actually, get in there, be like, I'm not going to say I'm part of the club because there is a club. I promise you.
Yeah.
There's a
but
club.
You get in the
right?
room now.
But like, we'll show up and we're just hanging out, man. Like it's the coolest thing, dude. Like it's awesome. Guys that like, you see these guys on videos growing up, and the next thing you know, you're just here chilling with them and just talking about random stuff that has nothing to do with biking. And then you get to know like their families and stuff like that. It's a very, very cool experience. And a lot of these guys, like they're just the coolest, most down to earth people that you could ever imagine. I mean, everybody who's in that limelight, they all have to put on, a face, for the presence, what people think that they are, but at the core, everyone, they're all just really good people, really genuinely like wholesome people, and they just happen to do way more badass stuff than I do. So
what was your big takeaway from the whole event? Like, what was the thing that you walk away thinking about?
Yeah, man. The main thing, it's a two-part thing, right? Because the main thing is, first of all, like I'm not like these people. Like these guys that are hitting this stuff, there is something truly like there's something truly different about who they are as people, in that respect, right? To them to be able to look at a cliff and be like, yeah, I'll ride my bike off that, and then part B to that is the amount of respect that I gain for those guys, because it's like I said, it's like the perspective of seeing it online as opposed to seeing it in person, man. It is a whole different world, and seeing it in person, seeing these guys nail their lines, get out of it, somewhat unscathed, like is just unreal, and I used to think, this is one of the things from a fan perspective that has really changed for me is when I was growing up watching Rampage, like I'd be there like, oh, come on, why did he do a backflip off of that? He could have totally put in a trick there, and then now I'm like, I was so dumb. Like, dude, just getting down the hill is enough of a feat. It's like that's epic on its own. And then these guys are throwing like flares and stuff. It's like, whoa, okay,
yeah. That's funny.
Yeah,
that's hilarious, actually.
I highly suggest it for anybody who's like on the fence. Like if you could pull it off, if you can afford to go out to Utah and do the whole thing, get a hotel, stay out there for a few days, like see Rampage, go out to the old site, bring your bike, ride with those guys. I would highly suggest it because it's like, if you go for the few days around Rampage, like not only are you like able to watch the Rampage and see that stuff, but if you go out and ride the local stuff, like the old sites, like you're gonna literally run into like these pros. Like they're just like and the thing is, like, you got the guys that show up for the event to actually like compete in Rampage, but then you also have like all the other like slope style guys, like YouTubers, whoever it is, like all these people, they all show up to this event. Like this is like you're walking around, you're like, oh, there's that guy, like, oh, what's up, dude? Like, and then, oh, it's that guy, like I know him, like we're like the day after the event, like we show up at the old Rampage site, and we have like there's Eric Fedko, Thomas Lemoyne, a bunch of their buddies just all out on the jumps, just session. I'm just there, just hanging out, just like, sick, man, dude. Yeah, it's just like it really brings this like whole new vibe of like, it's like seeing these guys out in their world rather than at an event somewhere, like going to Sedona Fest or something. You see these pros. It's like, no. Like they're out there in their element, and it's really cool seeing it from that perspective. So
yeah, I bet it's definitely it's intriguing, So is that your normal kind of ride? Like you like jumpy stuff, or like what are you into?
Yeah, that's my thing, man.
Yeah,
I like the jumps. I like the drops, the flow, the built up, but I also like the tech, man. Like out there, we rode a trail called Flying Monkey, I think it is. Forgive me if I'm messing the name up, but I think that's what the trail was called. Sheesh, man, that made every trail where I live easy.
Yeah, just the tech on it.
Oh, it's unreal. And I have a video coming out on my second channel of that trail. It's you're like on 100-foot cliff, half the trail. Like you're just like, if I mess up a little bit, I am dead. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you're done, man.
I don't do good with the heights, man. I'm like, yeah, that's not my jam. But
Utah might not be your place then.
yeah. It's probably not, but I like watching it. I mean, it's definitely cool. It's interesting. Like, I mean, as somebody that does stuff on film, when I look at something and on film, I'm like, that looks big. I know that it's like 5 times bigger than that in real life, even if the shot did a great job, you know, and it's funny. I mean, like, I'm sure even you do this time. I mean, it sounds like you did there. Like, there's still stuff that you look at it and then you get out there and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. The camera does not make this look right, you know, and you're like standing there like, holy crap, this is intimidating as hell.
Yeah. So. And that was actually one of my fatal mistakes that I made on this trip. You know, we had a video idea that it was basically going to be like, you know, we started filming it too. It was like, hey, can someone like me ride the Rampage features? Like that was the whole video idea. And we get out there, had the whole film. We even got a cameo of Brett Tippie in the video. And like, which also, he's an awesome guy too in person.
He is. I met him a few times.
Good buddy of mine. So we had a cameo of him in there, and like we had this whole plan of like, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna go film like me hitting these features, these canyon gaps. We had it all planned out. We got out there, we're like, I can't do any of this. I can't do any of it. We scrapped the idea.
Just took one look at it and no. That basically totally could be the video. Just you getting up there and being like, this ain't happening.
Basically, we just I saw because we did our scout day without the camera. Like the first day we were out there, and like, or the first day we had a chance after the event to like go out there and actually see the spots. And within an hour, I was like, damn it, like I can't hit any of this stuff. Like we went through like 5 of the features that I had planned to hit, and like
you're like, where's the smallest one? Can we see the smallest one?
yeah. Well, the small ones, it's like you look at the small ones. Even the small ones are bigger than anything we have in our area. So you're just like, oh man, like even the quote easy stuff. I'm sitting there just like, man, this is 10 levels above what I can do. It's unreal.
You're like, I don't want to be the front guy anymore.
Yeah. Dude, even my brother Durs, who he hits big stuff. He's a way better rider than I am. He's got way more balls than I do. Even he was looking at this stuff and he was like, man, I can't hit this.
It wasn't happening, huh?
Yeah, no, we were both just like, dude, we should just scrap this. Like, let's just not get hurt. Maybe next year, you know?
How far out is the content that you're recording versus when it's like hitting the internet?
Yeah. So like it kind of varies, right? It depends on a lot of like what we've got going on. Sometimes we'll be like a month in advance. We'll have like a month's worth of footage or videos or whatever, just ready to go. All I have to do is hit, post. But times like right now, like we've just been so busy, right? That like we had to put off projects to make way for other projects. We've got like a ton of videos in the works right now. So it's like right now we're a little like we have a bunch of stuff, but probably won't start seeing that till next week or the week afterwards. And so that's where like, you know, like short form content, like I have a video like to post and that's it, you know, and we have to go out and film some more. Right. So that's kind of, it's another ebb and flow, you know, it's so dependent on what our schedule looks like. So,
are you guys always just kind of like constantly trying to come up with ideas, or do you guys do some brainstorming together, or you just like have enough people like giving you comments now that you're like, I just do everything that they ask because they got enough tips, you know?
Yeah, that's another ebb and flow. You know, one of the things I've found is happening nowadays, because this answer has actually changed over time. Like if you look at like the old podcasts I've done in the past, I've said something along the lines of like, you know, a lot of it is just stuff that comes up on the spot, right? Some of it comes from like friends giving me ideas or comments online giving me ideas or, you know, stuff like that, or I'll see something and try to recreate it, you know? But nowadays, like, it's interesting. Like there's so much stuff going on nowadays that the reality of what it ends up being is that like, I'll go like a month of like, not a single idea, you know, like nothing really pops up. And then it'll be like a day where like, all of a sudden my brain is just like, boom, like idea, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that's really kind of what it's evolved to. And then on top of that also, like I do, like recently I put a poll on Instagram and I was like, hey, like what other ideas for this should I do, you know? And then I'll just like see what people say, and then I'll usually just go through and like pick the funniest ideas, right? Or like the most popular ideas, and then I'll kind of just like make a video or a variant of that idea, and then do something with it like that. Yeah. But it's there's no actual method to the madness, I promise. It's just it's a lot less cool than you think it is to come up with ideas.
Yeah, I was talking to Jess last week, and I was telling her, like, I've recently done a couple of like kind of short, funny kind of videos, and the way that you film it and the way that you edit it is just so different than the long form content. It's even though it's the same, it's different. Like I don't know how to like, I don't know a good analogy right now, but it is really like dramatically different, you know, and how you put those together. It's
no, it's a lot of it comes from like mood as well. Like if you look at like I feel like with short form, it's easier to stay consistent in how I edit things. Just because I use kind of the same program, I use kind of the same like editing strategy for it. You know, it's like 15-second videos, right? There's like I kind of have a rhythm to it already, right?
Is that what you shoot for? 15 seconds?
It depends. It depends entirely, right? Like there's some ideas that, you know, like for example, like if you were to take like all the videos of mine that have done well, like really well, like multi-million view videos, most of them are going to be between the 8 and 15-second range. Like that's just the reality of it, right? But if you take my top like 5 videos that I've ever made, like the decamillion view videos, right? They've all been in the 20 to 25-second range. So yeah, so if you would like to go on YouTube, like, and look at like the top, if you just like hit like most popular videos or whatever on shorts, like the very first one is passing people on trails, right? And that was like a, I don't know how many seconds, like 30-second long video or something, you know? And it started off, you know, just boom, right away. And it was just like hit with things, you know, the whole way through, right? Nowadays I tend to not look at like the time of the video so much. You know, back when I was starting to get really into like the whole algorithm stuff and like what, you know, hooks and stuff like that. A lot of people like to say that like the time has a lot to do with it, but because of, I think that's changing. That, like, you know, a year ago that would have been more relevant, but I think nowadays what's happening is that there's so much different content out there, especially now that TikTok, for example, TikTok's still one of the most visited platforms right now in the world, but they've recently introduced like long form content on there too, so you can watch videos that are like 10 minutes long on TikTok now. And that's gaining some popularity. So I think what's happening is that I think people are more drawn to the type of content and like how quickly it's able to draw you in, and the general topic of what it is that you're talking about, as opposed to like, oh, let's just make the short and like dopamine. You know, it's like, you know, it's a lot less of that and more of like, okay, this is something that can actually value me, right? They'll bring.
Are they segregating their long form from their short form, or is it's just mixed together?
It's all over the place, man. Like if you'll go through your For You page, right? You're just scrolling through, like you'll get a video that's 10 seconds long. Then you'll get
so
one
it's not like
minutes.
YouTube where it's like you're systematically being on shorts or you're systematically being on long form content.
Yeah. No, YouTube is way more organized about it. TikTok's just like, bleh, there's everything.
It's interesting to me, like I wonder how the algorithm works on that, because like it's such a two different like mindsets. Like for me, like personally as a human, when I sit down at lunch and I'm eating a sandwich and I want to watch something that's like, I want to watch it the whole time I'm eating the sandwich, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to be scrolling. So I'm purposely opening up YouTube and doing that. And it could still be something where I'm okay to walk away from, but that's a different mindset than like I'm sitting on the toilet taking a dump and I just want to scroll. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, like this could be done in 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's totally, so it's interesting to me, like how they would work that out, but I don't know what the deal is with the algorithm over there at all. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, I can post the same video and I don't get your kind of views, but like the last one I did, I had like 4,000 views on YouTube and 4,000 on Instagram and like 8 on TikTok.
Yeah.
Exact same video.
It's so all over the place, man. And you know, there's another platform too that like nobody. This is the first time I'm actually talking about this publicly, but a little secret I've been keeping is Snapchat.
Oh, you've talked about this publicly.
I have. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you about it. I wasn't sure if it would make it while we were on the show, but now that you brought it up, I listened to your interview with Kyle Warner, and you talked about
yeah, that's right.
You talked about it on there, and I was honestly like blown away because I thought Snapchat was for like filters of dog face and like that was it. I didn't know they even had a platform for watching like content.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
Dude, it is. First of all, there's a lot of how shall I say this? A lot of lovely ladies doing very non-grandma friendly things. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
It's like what do you call it? It's like OnlyFans, like B- or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically like, from what I could tell, it's a combination of like a bunch of girls trying to promote their OnlyFans. Yeah. And a bunch of creators like the cheap, it's like I don't want to be mean or anything, but it's like the creators that don't come up with their own original ideas, you know, that just steal like Mr. Beast's ideas or something. Yeah. And then try to make like short, like 15-second viral versions of what he does.
Yeah. So like re-editing other people's shit. It's like, hey, here's Joe Rogan's freaking podcast edited down to like these 10-second bites, and I'm not Joe Rogan, but I'm getting these views.
Not like that. That's very common. But what I was saying is more like actual creators, like people like you or I, like, right?
Copying their other content.
They just take other people's ideas, like, yeah, and like you'll see like a bunch of I don't know if you've come across this part of the internet before, but it's like the videos of people like throwing glass bottles downstairs and like that's shattering, and like the whole video is about like what's inside the glass bottle, you know, like, that kind of content, like the pure like just numb your brain, like you're not going to gain anything type content, you know. It's like girls and like dumb stuff like that.
But do you think it's a platform that's coming? Do you think like because I mean let's be honest, I mean like when TikTok started, I mean pretty much just everybody was like, yeah, that's where you go to dance. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't know, man. I've thought about it. I mean, I'm obviously investing in the platform. Like I've got like I don't know how, but we've got a bunch of followers on there. I have no idea how, but yeah, like we somehow, like it's weird. Like we'll get like one video will get like 1 million views, and then another video will get like 10 views. It's the weirdest thing. It's so inconsistent. But I don't know like if it's gonna be as big as TikTok. I really don't know. It's been around for so long. Like that was one of the original like social media platforms, right? Yeah. It was Facebook, MySpace, and like Snapchat. Like that was the like those are the first 3 like big ones, right? I don't know, man. I think it's like there's so much of the same content on Snapchat that like you could find on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. It's like, why be on Snapchat to watch that stuff? But then again, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I've thought about it a lot. Yeah. I haven't really gotten any like conclusive thoughts or opinions on it. All I know is that like I'm posting on there. I'm getting some views on there, which is cool. You know, it's a nice little, you know, it's a nice little bonus, right? Yeah. For us. And if it blows up, then we'll put more energy towards it. If it doesn't, then you know,
if it's just a matter of uploading the content that you're already creating, like
yeah.
I mean, why not do that, right?
Yeah, like, exactly. I mean, that's all we do. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's an extra like 30 seconds for me, you know, every time I post a video. So it's really like it's a good investment, you know, to be a part of it. And as far as I can tell, there are no other bikers on that platform.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen a biker video pop up ever on that platform for
Well,
me.
I'm
Yeah.
about to make an account.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah.
Like I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's strange, man. It's a weird one. If you need if you have any questions, because it took me a while to like figure out what the whole point of the platform is. If you have questions, just let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's like hard to know, like what to waste your time on, because there's a lot of ways to do it. And over the last few years, there's always like these new platforms coming out that like, Peter McKinnon's like, don't use Instagram, use this new photo app. And you're like, is this going to be the one? Like, should I at least go over there and like get my name in? So I have that, the same handle as I have everywhere else.
Yeah.
Or am I just like wasting my time? And you just never know like which one's going to pop and which one's worth like putting the effort into. But
yeah,
it's curious. It's also like, I was thinking about this the other day, like, you were talking about, and somebody in the comments helped me. There used to be a social media, if you don't know, there used to be a social media platform that was like before YouTube, it was big, and they did like 15-second like little clips. It was like where Logan Paul and them like got started. I want to say it started with like a V or something like that, or
Vine.
That's it. Yeah.
Vine, yeah.
And like whenever I started thinking about it, I was like, oh yeah, because I was watching that Logan Paul documentary, or Jake Paul one, the boxing one, I think. And I was like, that's right. Cause like, so it started out with short-term content, like really, cause that Vine was like the first thing that was like video, and like people were like going to watch like shit go viral. That was video,
Yeah.
And then YouTube came along, and YouTube content, even initially, from some of the guys that I talked to that were like in it back in the day, they were like, like if you had a 3 or 4 minute video, like that was a long video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it turned into like, now it's like, you post a 30-minute video, people watch it, and like, but on the other hand, now it's like this short form content's coming back again. And it just really makes you wonder like where the pendulum is going. Like, is it becoming this like new cross-pollinated thing, or I don't know,
it's hard to tell, man. I'm putting a lot of weight right now onto the long form stuff. The short form is great. I don't think it's ever going to go away. But I think, just given how, like you look at like just in general how platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime and stuff. I mean, you see how many people are on those platforms. Yeah. And then you have to pay money for them at the same time. Yeah. And then YouTube's totally free. Like if you have a device, you can just watch YouTube for free. You can watch anything on YouTube for free. So it's like, I think that the long form is probably going to make a comeback, but it's going to have to be a lot better than what it's been. I think the days of just making a somewhat decent video and hoping that for the best, I think those days are kind of over. I think like now you have to really put effort into the kind of content you're making. And do something that's out of the box. There's so many copycats out there. There's so many people who are just not really shifting the needle at all, that I think people want something fresh and new. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these people. Like if you look at all these like, modern, really famous social media people, a lot of them are streamers, like, Twitch streaming, Kick, YouTube live, all this kind of stuff. Like that's a really big thing that people are into nowadays, especially the younger generations. And like these dudes like Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, like, I don't know if you've heard of these guys, but they are freaking big, man. Like these guys are just off of like AdSense money alone. Like they're making 2, 3, 4 million a month. And you're just like, wow, like these guys are huge. Like you're getting millions and millions of views. They're getting insane contracts, like all this crazy stuff. And it's like, I see. And then you see that like their live streams, like they have 100,000, 200,000 people watching, 300,000 people. You're like, whoa, like, damn, dude, that's like, what? This is live? Like what?
Yeah.
I think
that's insane to think about, like pulling those people together. Yeah. And that reach, I mean, that reach is like real. Like if you can say, I like, Kushcore to 100,000 people, like
live,
there's some people listening,
like, absolutely. and they've done such an incredible job. I mean, you take it like Kai Cenat, for example, like this dude, like I don't personally know him. I know people who know him. And he's like he takes like these moves that are just like unreal. Like he'll bring a rapper on. I don't know how he meets these rappers, but he just knows all these rappers. And then they like do a beat or something and it goes viral. And it's just this whole new form of content that like I didn't see it coming. I was totally caught off guard with this stuff, and so it's like the real
think it's just easier to go viral though once you have an audience. I mean, even with your content, like you have enough people that are subscribed to you that they'll like in my eyes, like kickstart the algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because I would say yes and no. I think that like let's just take Instagram for example. I think Instagram is one of the more easy platforms to figure out, right? Because TikTok's all over the place. YouTube is constantly evolving. Let's just take Instagram. Like a video of ours, right? Let's say I post a video. There's probably going to be about like the first day, let's just say like 100,000 people that will watch the video, like regardless, right? It just shows up on their feed, their followers, they avidly watch our stuff, so I could like probably every video will get around 100,000 views, right? Just based organically from the people that follow us, right? But then like to take it to the next step where the video gets 1 million views, I don't have 1 million followers on Instagram, right? I only have like 200 something, right? Whatever. But like there's, that extra, 800,000 people or whatever that are not my followers that are watching that video, they had to come from somewhere. And that's where I think that like it becomes almost like an experiment for Instagram, right? Like the whole thing with the algorithm, like the algorithm doesn't like it's not a living thing. Like it's not deciding what video goes viral, what doesn't. All it's doing is taking information from the people that it does show initially too. Like every video is going to get some content your content shown to somebody, right? And then based on if that person watched it or was hooked onto the video for a certain amount of time, then the algorithm decides, okay, I'll show it to 2 more people. And then those two people are like, okay, we like it, and two, and it compounds from there, right? Yeah. So that's what separates like a video that goes viral and one that just gets shown to your followers is like, was there enough interest in the people that did watch that video to then make them want to click on to the next video after that or scroll down even more, or did they exit the app? It's like all these factors go into it. So it's not like the algorithm doesn't like, it's not like, I feel like it gets seen so much as like as a living being entity that shadow bans people, which it does. I will admit that it does, right? If you're saying some stuff politically that people don't want to hear, like it's gonna cut you off, right? Yeah. But for 99.999% of people on social media who are creating content, it's not the algorithm's fault the video's not doing good. It's something within the video that may or may not have caused it to create interest in other people. It's all based on what people want to watch, right? So rather than like, so the way I view it is like, rather than like trying to appease the algorithm, I just try to make good videos. I just try to make videos that are going to interest people. I want to make people like make videos that people are actually going to like and remember and want to share it to their buddies and want to do all this stuff, rather than like, oh, I got to make the video 8 seconds long because that's what the algorithm's pushing right now. It's like no. Like let's start the basics. Like how about just make a good video? Like start with a good idea, and then when you're pushing, 1 million followers, then you can worry about 8 seconds, 15 seconds, the hook, whatever. It's like, just make good content. Like that's the very first thing. Because without the good content, what's the incentive from Instagram, the algorithm to quote push your video if the first 1,000 people that watched it didn't even like the video,
How do you decide what's good versus what's not? Like, do you just like tell it to a couple of friends and like pitch an idea and see if they laugh, or?
No, I barely ever do that. Like maybe sometimes I will. This is another hard thing because so much of it was learned over time. Like so much of it, there's some ideas that like I'll have, and like I'll just sit on them for a while, or like someone will tell me an idea and I'm like, it sounds amazing, right? Like when they first say it, or when I first come up with the idea. But then there'll be times where we'll go out, we have an idea, we go out and start filming it, and then like I'm like filming it, I'm like, man, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't going to be good. I don't know. Like I'll just get a bad feeling for it, and I'll be like, nah, like something doesn't feel right, And every time, every time I have that bad feeling for a video, and like we post it anyway, it never does good. Like never, it might be seen by some people, but it's always the videos that I'm like, okay, this could be something. If I have some hope in the video, more often than not, I'm like, okay, this might have something to it. But I have a checklist of things for myself too. I do pay attention to how does the video start. I do pay attention to, okay.
So what is the start to you then?
What was that?
So what's the start? What does that mean to you?
So the start or the hook is what people want to say. Now I could go on, like, I know we don't have that much time, but I could go on forever and ever and ever. But the general thing is that, like, you want to start the video off in such a way that it's going to grab attention right, like instantaneously, right? It's got to be, you don't have even 1 second to waste. Like 1 second and you haven't said what the video is about or what you're doing or shown something that's happening in the video, people are going to just scroll. Like it's a dog eat dog world out there. And like people are going to want to watch content that's getting right to the point, like instantaneously. Like, what are you doing? Whether that comes in the form of like a provocative title right there, or you doing something dumb right away, or like you saying something, that's controversial. Like, it's all of these things, right? The era of slow videos is far gone. Like that era is gone, man. You won't see any slow videos like on any platform, long form, short form. You won't see it, man. Slow videos are for the movie theater.
Yeah.
Slow videos are for when you go to the movie theater, pay your $10, sit in there, watch through the credits, opening credits, wait, and then maybe 20 minutes into the movie, then you actually get to the point of what's going on. Like that's what people want to see, slow stuff. On Instagram and YouTube, no one's gonna watch slow stuff.
Done with it, dude.
Yeah.
We just rolled right past the 2-hour mark, man.
Yeah.
It's so easy to talk to you, man. Really, truly enjoy every time we get together and chat. It's been too long, but man, I definitely like super stoked to see where you guys are at now compared to 2 years ago when we talked last. It's just
thanks, man.
Incredible. But like it's definitely like justly due, like you guys put the work in and it shows.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, man, awesome time chatting. Really, really, truly appreciate it. Great time hanging out. Anybody who is not familiar with Nrml, go just search Nrml on the platforms and you'll find them. Hilarious. They're doing great content on all the platforms, and give them a follow when you're over there. If you haven't already followed me, do me the favor too. like I like seeing those numbers grow. If you want to do something for free though, all you got to do is remember, it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.